Tina Turner. I
Season 2, episode 2.
we're a month
We're a
behind,
month
bro, but
behind.
it feel good to be back in the studio,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yep.
And we was kind of behind because we was updating some
We
things.
had some things
Obviously, if
cooking.
you've been
Yep,
watching us, all our viewers out there, we got the mics now, we got the mixer board.
yeah,
So moving
yeah,
on up a little bit, changed the office around a little bit. So feeling
yep.
good, man.
Yeah, yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Yep, it's all looking good. It feels good. It sounds good. We had a little conversation about where to take it. Should
Yeah,
we invest a little bit
yeah,
into it?
yeah.
So, yep,
Yes,
yep.
sir.
So,
Man, this year has been going by fast as shit, man.
yeah, it's the
It's
end of the month, bro. We almost 2 months behind.
yeah,
2 more days, and we
yeah,
would have been
yeah,
two
yeah.
months.
So we gonna sneak one in there though, man. Somewhere, maybe a little bit later in the year, but we gonna sneak one in there,
Yeah,
man.
that's true. That's
Yeah,
true. We could just double up.
do the full season, get it, people worth their money. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, man, the year's been going by super fast, man. Um, if you know anything about me right now, man, like I said, got a baby girl on the way. Is focusing on a lot of things, man. Most importantly, becoming the best man I can. You know what I'm saying? It's moving on, being a husband, as a father. Me and Monica been closer, got closer since we found out we was having Mackenzie. And Mo told me the other day, and it was like, it wasn't because I needed to hear it, but it was like out of pure genuineness. She was like, Brian, I see you changing already as a man, like with your patience.
I bet.
And I guess some overall, like with my teaching skills. And so that was like very valuable when she said something like that to me. I'm like, man, it's that's just pure motivation. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It's
yeah.
God allowing, things like that to be heard, and to be kept, man. So that was something that's been really good. But the business is doing better than ever, man. We doing our crazy numbers right now, regardless of this supposed to be our slow quarter and everything like that, man. And I actually did Susan, friend of John and Eldon at the office, right?
Oh,
Um,
her kid. Is
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did. I did her son inspection. So at the end, she was there. I'm like, Susan. I'm like, are you buying this house? She was like, no, my son. And I was like, great, because I didn't know that was her son.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we talking, bro. And at the end, she was like, Brian, like the vibe I get, what I'm saying, from you and Korbin, like she kind of felt like you needed me in a sort in regards to not like a bad, because we all need each other. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We all need people at times, but just with she seen our relationship grow and develop and everything like that. And she asked me, like, Brian, do you guys still use Monday? I'm like, yeah, that's our Corbin. I said, that's Corbin stuff though.
Yeah, yeah.
But I told her in reverse, I said, man, we needed each other. You know what I'm saying? I said,
Yeah,
man, I
100%.
told her, I was like, man, I trust Corbin more than I trust a lot of people who I didn't know in a lifetime. I said, man, it's just, God put us in that predicament to grow.
That's
And we literally were just at like the same starting point and was like, man, we got to take off together and make it happen, bro. So
true.
I just say that to kind of start the show, man, and let y'all know, man, everything is possible and you need a team. Like I said, bro, I got you in my corner in regards to friendship and business and beyond, man, with goals. And then obviously my wife, man, in my corner. So it's, you know what I'm saying? Those type, you only need a couple, man. You'd rather be with a few lions than 100 sheep, So I definitely got those in my life.
True.
So, but yeah, life is good, man. But yeah, like I said, just kind of feel good to be back on here, bro.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, that's funny you say that because I definitely know what you mean. I'm like, I tend to have a lot of people. I have a lot of acquaintances. I hate saying that sometimes because it almost sounds like
It sounds offensive, but it's
it
really
kind of
not.
sounds offensive. Yeah, but like people, I guess I tend to be, and I know you're probably the same way. Just like it's just a personality thing. I think people, I guess I could be welcoming. Maybe is like the word. Whatever. People just, people tend to
Yeah.
see our face and just be like, this looks like somebody I could talk to. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, we just tend to attract a
It's
lot
a
of
gift
people
and a
around.
curse.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It is. But it brings all sorts of people around, and I've had different experiences and things happen over my life. I don't even remember why I was thinking about this a week or two ago, but like I'm not the most trusting person. I'm really not overall the most trusting person.
That's a
I don't put a lot of faith in a lot of people. I don't trust a lot of people, in not in a way that like keeps me away from them or anything, but just because you're not ever really in too many situations where you would even have to trust somebody to too high of a
Hmm.
degree, even even a good friend or something like that. But like, you kind of gotta recognize the people around you who you can really trust if
Agree.
shit were to hit the fan. You know what I'm saying? And I've honestly thought about that before. Like, if some shit really hit the, like, you're somebody I don't think I would ever, I could trust with anything. Like,
Yes,
if I
sir.
had,
Likewise,
you know
bro.
what I mean? If I had
Likewise.
just an emergency type of
Yep.
situation or something like that, and I got nobody to call or something, I'd be like, you'd be one of the first on my list. You know what I'm
I
saying?
appreciate that, bro. Likewise,
Because
man.
I don't, and some of that sometimes is not even like, I can't even explain that necessarily, but
Yep.
I guess we never really given each other a reason not to is a big part of it. You know what I'm saying? There's always a possibility
Yep.
for that, I guess, but I don't know. There's like a trust and almost like an accountability factor that's kind of built into that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I almost like, I guess we probably kind of got the kind of friendship that's like, we both look up to each other and to each other for certain
Agree.
things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've done certain things that I've looked up to. Maybe I've done certain things, vice versa. Like,
Yep.
that sort of thing. And so we just got like kind of a just an interesting relationship like that, where I
Yep.
don't have that with too many people. I would say I could probably count the amount of people I trust to that degree in my life on less than both of my hands. You know what I
Yes, sir.
mean? Like, and most of them are the guys here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
most of them are the guys here too. Like, I feel like these are people that I could pretty much trust with just about anything important. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's a blessing for sure. It's a
Yep.
blessing. But yeah, it's good to be back in here though, for sure. And looking forward to just see kind of where the podcast takes us. We were just talking
Yep.
before the show. We changed it up a little bit. Kind of, we talked about it a couple times, but I think it'd be interesting to see what, just to kind of see where it takes us. You know what I mean?
Agree.
Open it up a little bit.
Yep.
Still try to keep the theme under the rug though.
Yep.
We can't
Always.
really stray away from that
Yep.
necessarily. You know what I mean?
Under the rug.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta find a way to kind of work that back in. I think
Yep.
one way or another.
Yep.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. I
Agreed.
got some ideas, but for now, it's just about getting back in the booth.
We're okay with that, man.
Yeah, yeah.
When you said earlier, bro, about that trust or faith factor, I think it's a little bit different in the meanings, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Mm,
I think that's an easier thing maybe for a man to do than a woman, just scientifically, you know what I'm saying,
agreed.
naturally, you know what I'm saying, because they may more so put their trust, because you typically see the woman downfall is being too, she cares too much. That's
Yeah.
typically a woman downfall.
Yep.
A man downfall, he always want to be dominant. He's
That's true.
bullheaded.
Yep.
He's so aggressive.
That's true.
Like and even though, and those also can be our strengths at the same time. But once again, too much of anything is bad for you,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So when you care too much or when you too strong,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to fall back as a man. Be like, you know what? Nah, this ain't this. And you have to think.
Yeah.
Because if not, you start to think with your heart, and then that's where the ego come in, and then the situations don't end up well. And the same thing for a woman
Yep.
in regards to her loving and trusting people naturally, because that's a natural woman instinct.
Yep.
Um,
It's true.
so saying that, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing,
No, we compliment each other.
because you don't distrust people. You just accept them for who they are and allow them to play out for for them
Right.
true self. So
Right.
there's nothing necessarily bad with that
No.
at all. So
No.
um
Yeah, I feel like you got to earn trust, I
oh,
guess. You know what I mean? That's kind of a thing. But then also sometimes you kind of just trust people. It's kind of a strange thing. I don't know. It
oh,
does kind of seem like almost like maybe, like, I don't want to say men have an instinct. It's not like that we have something. I guess we just, maybe that's just how we function. You know what I mean? Like, cuz we got to get past that to move on. You
yeah,
just got to make a decision, like, do I trust this person right now? is that's good enough, you know
Huh?
what I mean? And then we'll kind of figure it out. But people have patterns, you know what I mean? I think that's one thing. I think men just make a lot of decisions based on the patterns they see. You
Agreed.
see an individual, do certain things a certain amount of times a certain way so many times, you're just going to process that as that just is what it is. We don't
Yeah.
really think too much about it. I think we just kind of observe those patterns,
Yeah.
make a judgment, and then just move on and just kind of act accordingly. You know what I
Agreed.
mean? Kind of like when you got a kind of person that you wouldn't trust necessarily. Like, so a lot sometimes you can't even put that into words. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And there's different levels of that too. Like sometimes you just meet the kind of person you wouldn't trust, like in a room alone with a woman you cared about. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You might not have a good reason for it.
Yeah.
It's all maybe just like nonverbals
Yeah.
or just a pattern of something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you're kind of just like on guard. And
Yeah.
it's just a trust thing. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, and it's just kind of instinct. And sometimes I've had in my life where that I've been too trusting, and then
Yeah.
you can definitely get burned.
Yeah.
So I think you do that enough, you have that happen enough, and you kind of like you don't need to like push people away, but when they come, they got to earn a little bit of
Yeah.
trust generally,
Yeah.
especially as we get older. You know what I mean? Don't just inherently trust people and take them at face value, because we can all be little salesmen and saleswomen. You know what I mean? Everybody's got an agenda, even the best of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Agreed, man.
Everybody's got an agenda.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that agenda though is all based on your character, your values, your ethics. Because there's good agendas and there's bad agendas, right?
Yeah.
Those are the
Yeah. That's
difference.
very true.
Because everybody has intentions, and I think the best asset anybody can have is being intentional.
Yeah.
Being intentional, what you say, how you say it, who you're with, what you're taking in,
Yep.
what you're putting out, who you're praying to, where's your faith, who are the ones you trust. When you're intentional, less bullshit happens.
That's for sure.
When you're intentional,
Yeah.
less bullshit happen because you're so intentional. You're in a zone. Can't too much shit get to you. And the things that are the things that life are naturally are just going to happen. And if you're intentional in believing somebody and having faith, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're unintentional and you let life take over what you think, what you believe in, what you really want to do, and you just kind of fall in the line,
yeah.
that's where the bullshit happens.
It's just chaos. Just
And
chaos.
I think that was one of the main traits that brought us together.
Yeah.
We were two intentional young
Super
men
intentional.
that had agendas,
Yeah.
and it's happened that
They
our
aligned.
agendas literally fell right into place, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So,
True. That's true. They definitely aligned.
bro, peer energy, bro.
Yeah.
Peer energy brought us together
Yeah.
because it's crazy how something like that can happen, bro. But
That's
I think that was the main key to it. So we can share any tip out there with any entrepreneur or day-to-day person. Be intentional.
no doubt.
Whether if you work in your 9 to 5, whether if you work in 2 jobs, whether if you're a be intentional.
Yeah.
And life gonna work itself out after that. But it's so maybe those are the two different type of people in this world.
Yeah.
They say good and bad or this and that. No,
Intentional. or
it's
not.
it's intentional and unintentional.
Yeah. That's
But
funny.
them
'cause, you
facts
know,
right there, man.
Yeah, because as you're saying that, I'm thinking like I don't know that there's really any in between. Like you either are or you aren't. And in my experience, anybody that I've ever known, or myself included, if I try to do something or I say I'm gonna do something and I don't treat it with intent, I'm not intentional about it, it goes nowhere. It just falls completely flat. There's no like being half intentional. You know what I mean? Like if you commit to something serious, you gotta treat it with intent. Maybe small little like marginal goals or something, but if you're talking like life goals, you're talking about real improvements, like I want my business to earn this much. I want to lose this much weight. I want to make this much money. Like whatever it is, if it's a big enough goal, and you're pretty much not all in on it, you'll get nowhere with it, or it'll take a eternity for you to get anywhere with it. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine having the progress that we've made over the past? What it's been going on it'd be 4 years almost or 3. I mean, really,
Well,
we
3 I would say 3 consistently.
yeah, that's probably about right. That's
Um,
probably about right.
'Cause remember, and I don't mean to throw no shade.
No,
I guess I don't know. I shouldn't say the names or whatever, but it was through through different
there was some
companies, whether
time.
if it was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
photography or video.
right.
But
Yeah, there was some
that
time
energy
before that,
brought us
but
right back around.
three and a
Yep,
half, maybe we'll
yep.
call it like 3.5. But can you imagine that 3.5 years taking 10? Like that's all the farther you got over the course of 10 years. You know what I mean? That doesn't feel right. That that don't feel right, bro. 10 years a long ass time, man. 10 years ago, I'd have been 21, dog. Can you
Can you
imagine?
do something for me?
You know what I mean? So
Oh,
it's like it feels crazy that we've even been doing this for 3.5 years, that we've even made it this far with so many different things, that there's been so many things that have happened over the course of that 3 years,
yep,
both from the business and a personal perspective. Like it feels like 10 years.
yep.
But if you imagine that actually, even honestly, like 5 or 6, you kind of be like, I don't know how happy I am with the progress. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh man.
that's kind of how it is when you start the business. It's like, well, I'm gonna replace my income from working a job, which is
Yep.
at first is amazing, but then even after a year of that, you start doing your taxes. You start looking at like what it's gonna take to buy a house, or what it's gonna just to even have any real credit. You're like, shit, I gotta make 4 times as
Yeah.
much money. Like I can't even double or triple. I gotta make 4 or 5 times as much money. Like I gotta double down. That
Yep.
that kind of like honeymoon phase of that shit wears off. Fast, So I mean,
Oh man.
everything seems right though, man, and that I think all of that's by being intentional. And we've probably gone through like phases or seasons, and there's probably a degree to where we could have put our head down even more, both individually or together or whatever. I mean, I don't know, but you got to have some sort of limit and some sort of balance, especially if you got a relationship or you got kids.
Yep.
There's everybody has different degrees of that, but ultimately, I mean, we definitely worked on everything we done to get to this point, and it feels
Mhm.
like the right amount of time. I just can't imagine that taking like 6 years. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean?
Yep.
Be like, shit.
This isn't a damn marathon. This is a
Yeah,
slug
yeah,
race.
yeah. That man, that'd be crazy, man. So it just seems like everything's falling in the right place at the right time so far. So far.
I was telling a realtor the other day, she was like, Brian, are you staying busy? And I was just explaining to her our business is the busiest, and the most profitable businesses in the 4 years. And I was like, man, I was not necessarily complaining, but I had told Mona, I'm like, man, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm like literally tired. And not a bad tired, but I'm tired. I'm
Tired.
up and about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to tell the realtor, I'm like, man, I remember I used to pray and stare at my phone, wishing my phone ringed and getting emails and notifications and phone calls and texts. I used to pray for things like that, bro.
Yeah.
So those type of things humble me. So even those type of statements are leaving my thoughts, or or at least going to leave at least
Yeah.
what I speak into.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually my thought process in regards to statements like that. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you always got to remember back, like you said, where we were not too long ago, bro. And there's been huge leaps and there been consistency. So
Yeah.
that's the blessings of it, man. And actually, man, I know tomorrow, and this is, a little, I guess this is a little business talk, but I'm super excited to share some things just like networking wise
Mm.
with you and Savannah tomorrow, for our monthly meeting. And it's some good things taking place, bro. So
Nice.
hopefully a lot of exposure is going to take place over the next couple months. Because even right now, a lot of people who's referring us are new realtors
That's
who
nice.
trying us out for the first, maybe second time, or those realtors or home buyers that just basing everything off of our reviews.
Yeah.
So those are the relationships that you have to hit on, because, and I'm not saying you disregard any of the relationships that you have. You keep those strong because
Right.
don't burn no bridges.
No.
but now these are the bridges you also have to continue building.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's a lot of good things, bro. Like I said, I think, like you said, the energy is right.
Mm.
The energy is like, it keeps the people. Would you say it
Keeps the
keeps the
people
people
going.
going? You know. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's a blessing, bro.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's amazing. It's amazing that I don't know, it kind of feels different too this year. It's so funny that like it really I remember looking at the calendar. I don't think it really would have been too much last year. I don't really know. It honestly sometimes the last three and a half years seem like a goddamn blur. Seasons blend together, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been almost it's just a blessing because I feel like for the most part that's because even all things considered, everything been going so damn well. You know what I mean? Like it was a crazy set of years to even try to be launching off a business, you know? I mean, really,
With
because
COVID
we're
and all
talking,
that shit,
yeah,
yeah.
there wasn't really too
Whole
long
world
after
shutdown.
we got rolling that happened, and like honestly, that didn't really affect us all that much. I mean, for a short time or whatever, like it affected everything, but like, um, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. We've been definitely so blessed, and I don't even want to say lucky. There's probably a degree of luck, but I mean, we definitely put the work in. But just keeping laser focused, staying
Yeah.
intentional, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, man. It like you said, man. It has, bro. We got to appreciate every step of the journey during the way. I think those are where your true values and everything like that come into place. As an individual, as somebody who want to continue to motivate and inspire others, and I think that's something that we honestly also done.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily know who,
yeah, I think
but
you're right.
I definitely feel like we inspired others
Yeah,
along the way and everything like that, man. No ifs and buts about it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
um and then once again, this is a little off script. Who music wise, who are you listening to right now? And the reason I
Music
asked you
wise,
that, there's a guy from California that super dope. He's from the Bay Area. His name is La Russell.
okay.
Um, and he's super dope. He has a lot of music. When I say lots, I mean like over hundreds of songs.
Wow.
He's kind of like he probably, and I have to say this very lightly, he may have as much music as Drake does,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
he's only been out for a couple years
Wow.
because he puts out EPs or
Yep. Just
singles
keep
every
going.
week, every other week. You know what I'm saying? Those type of deals, and he
Right.
managed everything, somewhat very similar to us, but
Yeah.
obviously he's on a way bigger scale and everything
Right.
like that. But um, he was somebody I wasn't obviously personally introduced to, but I think he was actually on the Breakfast Club, and I heard him
Yep.
freestyle, and then I downloaded some music, and then said I followed him on Instagram, then I started
Yes.
downloading more
Yeah.
music. I'm like, this dude is pretty dope, and I think he's very intentional of who he is, and he's aware of who he is, and I think he's dominating what he's doing right now. But
Damn.
um, there's another rapper. I have to check my phone and see as well. I think he may be from Cali. He kind of got like that Snoop Dogg
Mm.
beat vibe. You know, it's like kind of right in the low rider type of deal. Got to like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, that California feel. He kind of
Yeah.
talk a lot about becoming a better person, about knowing about businesses, taxes, what to, what to focus, what to put, where your money at, and all of those type of things. So
Yeah.
I had to check my phone to check him out too. But yeah, man, I was just curious if you had anybody necessarily that you were listening to right
Man,
now.
for the most part, uh, the past man, oh, I would say, it seems like it's been probably a month or so ago. Do you know who Skrillex is?
I
You
haven't
familiar with
listened to
Skrillex? You
Squirrel.
probably heard some Skrillex songs before. You probably just couldn't. You probably just couldn't think of it off the top of your head. Skrillex hard to describe because like back in, he's been around for a while. I want to say his first releases would have come out around 2009. I guess I would. I mean, you would definitely like. He's under the umbrella of like electronic music. I would say ultimately, and quite a variety, like all sorts of different electronic music and stuff. But um, he been making music for a long time. His first stuff that came out was kind of like, I guess if I was gonna genre it, I would say it was just kind of that dubstep, electronic, that kind of screechy, excited,
Uh,
kind of fast paced music. And it was pretty consistent. Like his sound was pretty consistent. I don't really know what his story is. I don't really know if anybody does to some degree, but like somehow, like he came from a metal band.
okay.
Um, and he was a vocalist, I think, for a metal band, and then was one of these guys that went off to make this electronic music by himself. Like he got, I think because he was in the music business, music industry, he got hooked up with some different people or whatever. This happens sometimes, especially like in the rock genre. Some of these guys go off and do like electronic stuff, so he might have met some people. I don't really know his whole story, but he started producing himself, released some albums under that. It was really unique, good stuff, and it was always really impressive. But somehow then he got linked up with like producing for like pop artists, I think, and
Okay.
stuff like that. So he had some really big ones with like Justin Bieber, even that were pretty big hits. Yeah, yeah, that were pretty cool, and they were good songs. Honestly, I like them. So I think he spent like the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years doing his own productions, but I think really a lot of times working with um pop artists, all sorts of different artists like Justin
Okay.
Bieber, stuff like just getting in all sorts of things. And so finally, like a month ago or so, he finally put out. Not only did he put out one album, which was the first in like 10 years, so it was people were waiting for it.
Yeah.
He put out this album, and then a few days later, he played a show somewhere. I think like in New York. I think Madison Square Gardens or something. He was playing a show, and then announced at that show live that he had just dropped a second album just 2 or 3 days after he'd had the other one, and they're totally different sounds. Like one of them is really kind of darker and heavier, sort of. It's electronic music, so kind of some dance music or some heavier kind of some
Yeah.
headbanging music. But then the other album is like pretty much a pop album. Like, I mean, Kid Cudi's on it actually. He
Okay.
had a
I
track with
like
Kid
Kid Cudi.
Cudi.
I
He
like
had a
Kid
track
Cudi.
with Justin Bieber on it. Like there's some kind of it's kind of like hip hop pop different. It's a phenomenal album. It's one of the best like I mean, me and a friend of mine must listen to it hundreds of times. Like it's only like a half hour and it just loops back so great like just to listen to it again and again and again and again. So that has been like that consumed me the last like month or two. That was really exciting. This has been actually a pretty good year for music. I'm trying to think of what else has come out so far this year,
Yeah.
but 2023 so far is shaped up to have been a pretty good year for music for me.
Agreed.
I'm trying to think of what else has been on my playlist lately. I listen to a lot of that, like electronic music and stuff like that. But I like for the last couple years, my Spotify tells me Drake's on
Yeah.
top, like by a
Yeah.
magnitude, like huge.
You got the Drake and the 21 album that
Man,
dropped.
was that I think that was like late last year.
That was late last year?
Think so. I
Okay.
think that
Okay.
I remember because I was on that company trip in on the beginning of November, and I remember sitting in the hotel room going through Spotify. I'm like, what the hell is this? That's one thing I love about Drake. You don't ever know his albums are coming.
Nope. They
They
just
just
dropped.
drop, and it's almost like every year. And it's amazing because just the numbers that he puts up are just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I think he might be the highest streamed on at least Spotify, like just in general.
I can
It's
believe
up
that.
there. I
That's
know
huge.
Kanye's been up there, but I think Drake might have took that over. But it's just it's like he has a new album like every year, bro. So it's really not surprising. I've had a couple electronic, artists put out albums that I like this year, but I don't think it's been anything too mainstream really that I can think of other
Drake
than
has
that.
had bangers
Yeah,
since. If you listen to him before, like Best I Ever Had came
yeah,
out, I like that Drake as well.
I do too. It's
Like
different, but it's
the
good.
Calm. You ever heard the Calm by Drake?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
and then but after that, so that was back in what, oh 08, oh
I think
09.
so. Yeah, I think so.
He's been making beyond his albums. You would pretty much say from a majority of them, you can listen to him from all the way through.
I really could. There's not one I can think of that I wouldn't. To be honest with you, there for a little every now and then.
It's the it got 1422 on it.
More life.
More
That's
life.
more life. I think.
More
Yeah,
Life got a few hits, but I couldn't necessarily listen all the
I
way
feel
through
you.
it. That's probably the only one.
I feel
Other
you.
than that, one through, and then he always give you 17 and 21
Yeah,
songs.
they're
So
always
he's putting
packed.
you a full old school project. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Most albums these days are like 13,
yeah.
14 songs.
Yeah, I'd be
But
very curious. I always think I'd be very curious to know like what the Drake album process is like because I'm sure he obviously without it he wouldn't obviously exist, but like I think he's got to have 50 people involved in
uh,
these albums, bro. I mean, you look at the production credits and there's multiple producers on every single track. I mean, those tracks bounce around all sorts of people. And some people look at that a weird way. Like I've heard people criticize that and I think you guys are out of your fucking minds. You're talking about 3 to 5 of the hottest producers, normally the best producers, like they're usually huge names. Like that's
uh,
a work of art. The fact that 5 people, are you kidding me?
it's hard to work together like that. So
Yeah, but they must have something down to where they got just an amazing system. I would love to know what that involved. Like how many songs do you think get thrown out? You know what I mean? Like these are all songs that actually make the albums, but how many different beats do they go through? How many different tracks do they
yeah.
just get halfway through and they're like, I'm not feeling it, throw it out. You know what I mean? Cuz like it would be too I wouldn't believe for a second that every song that they put on an album was just like record, push, record, push, record. It just doesn't work that way.
Agree.
Although I've heard Jay-Z kind of works that way. Like I've heard a lot of people say Jay-Z just like I've seen different interviews and different stuff where Jay-Z just comes in, lays it down and gets out. Like
Oh wow.
that's what I've heard, you know. It's from all the way back from when I mean if you kind of look at there was some of the footage with him and Kanye in Kanye's documentary on Netflix. The what was that one called? The Genius or whatever.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Whatever. His documentary on Netflix. They went into some of that, and it kind of did seem that way. Like Kanye was. I mean, Kanye produced. I think a majority of the Black album and
Wow.
large part of the Blueprint. I think like Kanye was a big producer credit on some of Jay Z's work, but there's footage of them just working in the studio. Jay Z's just chilling. He's just chill. He'll provide some feedback here and there, but he's pretty much chilling, just knocking to the beats, and then people just say he just kind of comes up with something right there, goes in and lays it down.
That's
Like
some Tupac shit right
that's
there.
a legend. Yeah, Jay Z's a legend. I heard Rick Rubin talk. The guy that wrote this book, Rick Rubin, talked about that too. How I think Rick Rubin said he did 99 problems in no more than 3 takes. Like he just came up with it, and that was it. Like they came up with it in that studio session, laid it down, rolled it out, which is just incredible. Because you think about a song that big, you almost feel like it had to take an eternity or something.
99
You
times.
know what I mean? Yeah, you because sometimes I mean I think sometimes music does work that way where artists will sit on they'll start something and you hear that sometimes and not put it out for years, you know,
Yep.
just kind of chipping away at it. Maybe there's like something there that they like it so they keep it, but it's not filling out like something's just not it's not there, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But Rick Rubin say I think with 99 problems they just pretty much laid it out boop boop
Wow.
boop done, you know, right there. And then that's I mean that's a historical like that's an iconic song. That's not just a hit song. That's a
Yep.
like almost a religious hit song. You know what
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
saying? Beyond mainstream. You know what I
Agreed.
mean? An anthem of sorts. Like that's incredible. But I would kill to know like what the Drake process is like, bro, because it amazes me just how every album comes together like that. And I didn't even used to be like the biggest fan. I was always a fan, but I never really got into it. And for
Uh-huh.
some reason, the Views album
Uh-huh.
at some point, I
Yep.
remember giving that a listen and just thinking, damn, like I've been missing out not listening to this more. You know what I
Views is
mean?
hard, bro.
Views, that's still I think my favorite. I still think that's my
Views is
favorite.
hard.
Something about it because I can't even remember what song he said, but he said it must have been one after. I can't remember what song he says. I was an angry youth while I was writing Views. It kind of comes through. You know what I mean? Like
That was his
it's
breaking point.
darker. It's a little like Views is a little darker, even just from the album cover is a little
Yep.
darker. You know what I mean? The beats are a little darker, the message is a little
Yep.
darker, but the whole album just flows. And I could just listen. I think that's why Drake is my top for the last 2 years because sometimes if I don't know what I want to listen to, it's views. I'll just
That's
throw
right.
views out right from the top. But
Agreed.
by the time I'm done, I'll know what else to listen to. But I'll just let that roll through the whole way, man, because it's an experience every time. I love that album.
Now, I definitely think Drake has to be like the Michael Jackson in hip hop, pretty much.
Could be. He
Drake
could
is
be.
definitely in my top
He's up
five.
there. Yeah.
If I guess my top five would be Drake. I love Tupac.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, man.
It's hard, man. I'm a big Kanye fan. I do love Kanye West. I
Who do I have on my
set his
phone?
character aside, and it is what it is. I love Kanye.
I grew up on Young Jeezy. I grew up on the
Oh shit!
Yala Young Jeezy
I listened to
music.
plenty of that. That was high
So
school music.
man, so I
Yeah.
I might I honestly may have to throw Jeezy in there.
Jeezy's consistent. He was consistent.
I like T.I. as well.
Yeah, that shit was good.
And I think Lil Wayne is probably in
those were the
everybody's top
days,
five.
brother. Those were the days.
I like Hove, but Hove was kind of older for me. If you got, and I like Biggie
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But if I was to throw my top five to it, like these are my favorite. Like I can go to their concerts and beyond, enjoy myself because I know everything they about to play. Those would probably be my five. Lil Wayne now is not obviously the Lil Wayne he used to be
Yeah.
because it was for a minute. Lil Wayne was pretty much on every song, every feature,
That's true.
and that was for like a 3 to 4 year stretch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all of the Carters came out.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't necessarily a fan of the 4 and the 5, but I think Carter 3
you're
is.
right.
I love Carter 3. I thought that
Yeah.
was legendary.
That was the peak.
But
Yeah.
that would probably be my top five, man. You got
That's
one or
that's taking me back to high school. That's big. That's taking me back to high school, big time. I also have to say Drake is up there. I would have to say Kanye's up there. I
Kanye?
love Kanye. Yeah, I love Kanye. I might have to put Jay Z up there because I definitely listened to Jay Z for a long, long time. Very, very often. It's been a while. A friend of mine actually sent me a screenshot in a little group chat the other day. He was showing everybody he was listening to some Jay Z. I thought, man, I might have to put Kendrick up there because he definitely especially I did end up liking his newest album. I pretty much like all of them except for his Butterfly album. I didn't care for that one too much. It's called To Pimp a Butterfly. I didn't care for it. It was just different. A lot of people really liked it. It was just different, but his like Section 80, what's the other? Good Kid, Mad City, Damn wasn't bad. The newest one ended up being real good. Yeah, Damn was pretty fire. Kendrick's that's the thing I like about a lot of these people is their consistency. You know what I mean? There's like obviously it's easy because of their voice, but like there's just a certain consistency through their music that you kind of, you know what I mean, that you could kind of hear a song and be like, oh, I know what this is about to be. You know what I mean? I used to listen to. Did you ever listen to Wale? You know who Wale is?
I like. You know what? I like Wale.
Yeah.
I don't know over an abundance of his songs, but the music I have on my phone, Wale, I think fits every vibe there is in the room, whether if it's romantic,
That's true.
whether if you chilling,
That's true.
whether if it's a party. I think Wale is a generalist. I probably would have to throw J. Cole in there too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I like J. Cole. I don't, once again, I don't know all of his music, but everything I know is fire.
It's fire.
You know,
pretty much.
But yeah, man, Wale is smooth, bro. I like Wale.
I do too. I used to listen to him
Mill.
back. Yeah, yep.
Some people will put Meek in their five. I think Meek is tough, but he took the L against Drake, so you know.
That's true. I'd have to take Drake all day. I'm sorry, Meek. If I could only have one, I'm for sure taking Drake, man. Yeah.
And I think that's for anybody, bro. Like
I hate to say.
I'm talking about the streeters of the streets. No, I think you may take Drake, bro, because he, you know, so.
Yeah. It's hard to just pick five, man. It's hard to just pick five. I know for sure Drake and Kanye will be up there. It's hard to pick.
Would Snoop be in your five?
I love Snoop, but I don't necessarily know that I ever was like addicted to Snoop. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean?
Yep.
I don't really know much other than some of the more popular.
Yep.
Like, I like Tyler the Creator a lot. He's definitely changed a lot over the years, but he's definitely an interesting. He's very unique,
Yes, sir.
super unique, and I kind of went through. I like some of the ASAP guys too, like ASAP Rocky,
Okay.
ASAP
Ferg.
Ferg.
Okay.
That stuff
Okay.
is that stuff definitely scratches an itch
Yep.
sometimes. And
Yep.
I like how those guys are even consistent with each other.
Yep.
Like you could hear a song and not necessarily know which ASAP it was. Like
Yep.
the ASAP Rocky or ASAP Ferg, but you know it's an ASAP
ASAP.
song because they do that like like the oh
Yep.
Shit, it's just like 21, you know. Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
I do like some of that stuff for sure.
I like Ross. I was
Yeah,
a big Wiz Khalifa fan at a point. I
yeah,
liked a lot of
yep,
Wiz music when he
yep.
first came out. I think Mesmerize might be one of my favorite songs.
That's fair.
If I, if I'm blowing something, man, if I'm on
Yeah,
riding or something,
yeah,
I Mesmerize might be on that playlist, man. If I'm chilling on the beach or something, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a good one, man. Um, you know what I watched lately? I finally watched The Plane. I don't know either of the actors in it. I don't know their names, but I know who they are. It's an action film movie, and pretty much this pilot, the plane gets struck by lightning. Are you looking up the actors? You got the
Yeah, yeah,
names?
yeah. I kind of feel like I recognize him, but I couldn't name him either. It's Gerard Butler,
Yeah,
Mike Coulter.
those two, bro.
Yep, yep. They're the two main characters. It looks like.
So that was a crazy movie.
But damn, what's this guy's what's Mike Coulter? Oh my god, he's jacked.
Yeah, he's huge, bro. He's huge in that movie.
Yolt.
Yeah, he's huge.
This just popped up. Like,
He looks like the Terminator.
oh my god, yeah. That man is jacked. Look, he making this guy. Oh man.
Yeah, man. So every movie, well, the past few movies I seen him playing, he's kind of been more of an intimidating character.
Yeah.
But he's a beast in that movie, man. I watched. So, have you ever seen Sanford and Son? It's a Red Fox show, bro. This show is probably 60s, 70s, maybe early 80s. So Red Fox is like he was back in the day with Eddie Murphy grew up to Red Fox.
Yeah.
I'm from Richard Pryor type of days.
Yep.
Growing up, I always seen Red Fox play at my grandmother's house, but I never really knew the understanding of it. I'm older. I was watching the other day. Monique was laughing at me. She said, "Brian, you so old." I was cracking the hell up at Red Fox. I'm like, man, the shit that he's saying, bro, it's literally about a dad and a son living together, and this shit is crazy. So those type of shows, the ones that are kind of inspired Fresh Prince, Martin, those type of shows. But the funniest shit I done seen lately was probably Marlon Wayne's stand up. I seen Chris Rock's. I thought Marlon Wayne's was funnier than Chris Rock because Marlon Wayne's entire show is about the slap.
Oh yeah.
25 minutes is about Will Smith, 25 is about Jada, and about the other 25 is about Chris.
Damn.
He talks about all of their relationships and how they all entangled together, and he felt like karma just all happened that night because of all of the shit that they did to him.
Actually hilarious.
So and he tells the story of how he knows each one of them, and at the end how that karma came back. But he ends it with Chris Rock. The funniest one is probably Chris Rock. I think he does Will, Jada, then Chris. I think it gets funnier and fun because then he talks about his crush that he had on Jada Pinkett. But then, Will is just like, man, this is the dude that took Jada away from me. Now your career is, in shambles, But then he also talks about, because obviously when you think about the Waynes, it's so many Waynes, right? He said, obviously, man, if somebody would have slapped me on the stage, shit, my whole family would have came out on it. you know,
Yeah.
and all of that, man. But yeah, man. So, I'm thinking about it now, man. I'm pretty sure you used to watch In Living Color growing up. I don't know if you did like the
Seen,
funny
yeah,
skits. That shit used to be
yep,
funny.
yep.
And Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait when I was a kid to watch that shit, man.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got any
That
shows
one
or
takes me
anything
back,
like
man.
that you been on
That
lately
one
or?
takes me back. Oh no, I don't think so. I've always been a big South Park fan. South Park just had a new season, man.
You
I
kill Kenny.
I, I love South Park,
That's
man.
they're still coming out with new seasons.
You know how? Do you know how crazy? Get this, man. I think it was last year. There's two guys that basically make the show. Matt Stone and Trey Parker, I
Okay.
think are their names. Two guys. They've been doing it all this time. They're on season, I want either 25 or 26. They got a deal last year, I believe, from, I don't know if it's Viacom. I don't know who exactly the deal is between, but basically they've always been under Comedy Central, right?
Yeah.
Comedy Central is owned by Viacom, which owns a lot of different other TV stations. So they've always primarily had a relationship with Viacom. Um, it came out not too long ago. They have always apparently they reached a deal. This has always been the case apparently with Viacom. They take 50% of everything, anything with a South Park name on it. Those two guys get 50%. That is not a common deal when it comes to that sort of thing. They would be normally probably lucky to get 10, 20%. You know what I mean? Because the network, the distributor takes all that money a lot
Yeah.
of times. It just is what it is,
Yeah.
There's a lot of money involved in that, so and whatever it is what it is. But they take first of all, they take 50% of anything South
That's a
Park.
lot of money.
That's anything that gets sold in a goddamn Spencer's gift store, sold online, anything South Park, 50%. And they've been taking that for all this time, the South
Yeah.
Park's been out. They signed a deal last year, I think it was, or the year before, for $900 million to extend, I think, 4 or 5 seasons and a few hour-long specials that they did on Paramount, which I think is the streaming service is probably under the same umbrella as Viacom. You know what I mean? So they're
Which is
trying to
all
get the
Comedy Central.
yeah, and then they also got a deal with HBO. They also air the episodes of South Park on HBO. Those guys are fucking billionaires, bro. Off of South Park.
They do like all of the voices and
They
all
do
that
pretty
shit
much all. They got
themselves.
a team that helps with all the
Okay.
show and everything, but I'm pretty sure they are all the voices and all the writing. Pretty much is those guys, and that's how much money they're making. And they're so funny. There's one episode. It might be in 2 episodes, but there's one episode where somewhere in the middle of where they're at now, like season 12 or something, where apparently because it takes place in like Denver, Colorado, basically, or South Park, but like it's what I mean. It's based on it's a Colorado town. There's a place apparently in I think Denver or something like that called Casa Bonita, and it's like a restaurant. There's this whole episode where like Cartman gets all he like buys it or and like turns it into his own. You know how Cartman is. He's on some crazy shit. So there's this whole episode, bro. They bought that restaurant. They ended up after they signed this $900 million deal, they went and bought that rehabilitate so that they could rehabilitate it. Like, they just got stupid money from this show. They just,
They
I mean,
bought the restaurant.
they bought the
and
restaurant.
turned it into the restaurant that they had on the damn show. Wow. Wow,
Yeah,
wow, wow.
just because they could. And it's funny because I read some articles they're talking about how they kind of regretted it because it turned out to be a shithole. They're spending way more money than they anticipated trying to rehab the place, but apparently they got it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But yeah, that show has always killed me, man. I look forward to South Park every time it comes out. I've pretty much my Hallmark shows have always been like I love The Office. I ended up liking Parks and Rec a lot. That was a really good series. One I started, but I kind of keep seeing and I want to finish is Community. Have you ever seen that?
I never seen
Donald
it.
Glover's in that. I think Chevy Chase is in it for a
Okay.
few seasons. It's kind of a goofy show, but I've wanted to finish that one. But I've watched a lot of those more popular ones, but I don't get too into like I don't watch too many movies or TV shows these days, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think of what the last one. I do like The Mandalorian. That's
Okay.
that Star Wars show. I try to catch some of those. That's kind of
I
funny.
haven't seen
Those
Star Wars in a long time.
no, I don't know why. It's kind of funny because like if you ever talk to John about like movies, John will pretty much only watch. He puts it as if it couldn't happen in real life, like he's not gonna watch it. So he'll only watch like documentaries and stuff like that. Like he will not watch. He's never watched like a superhero movie. None of that.
What
Like
about an action movie though?
no.
Action movies can be based on true stories,
Gotta
right?
tell him that, man. He won't.
So he won't watch anything that's not.
Pretty much a history of
Nonfiction.
documentaries.
It has to be nonfiction.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm almost the opposite. Like, if I'm if I'm gonna watch something, I want it to be Captain America. Like, take me so far away from reality. You know what I mean? Like, I'll watch a documentary or something here and there if it's interesting or something I'm interested in. But for the most part, I'm interested in like superhero shit. Like, I don't know why, man. Maybe I'm just like it's like the child in me. But it gets my attention for like an hour, hour and a half, you know, whatever, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna move. Maybe it's because I play too many video games or something. It's like watching one, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just those get me going. Those get me hooked. I can't help myself. I can't help myself. Those are cool. The Star Wars stuff's been pretty good too. It's especially as it's gotten like newer. I never understood the people that were like obsessed over all that like the old Star Wars. I'm like,
Uh,
you know, they did that shit with like dioramas hanging on a string. I'm not interested in watching that. You watch something from
In the
2020,
70s.
man. Yeah, right. Have you seen the graphics they do now? Like, I want to watch that. I'm not interested in that old shit. They act like the story's unique. It ain't unique.
no.
It's
Oh, born ass
told
shit.
a
Yeah.
million times, man. Just show me the new shit. Like, it looks way better. Can you imagine somebody sitting down and be like, "Oh man, you should really try and play this Madden 2002." Like, are you out of your
Man, that shit would
mind?
be
You
terrible,
right?
bro.
I'm gonna play
It
that
would
for
be.
5 minutes, man. I got 23 at the house. Like, what are you talking about? No, man, that's 20 years old. Can you
Oh,
imagine going
man.
back to like Sega Genesis, man? That's more
Oh,
like what
wow.
that's like. You know what
Wow.
I
Yep.
mean? Like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
I think the only older games I may go back to and play would be like a Vice City
Yeah.
or a Grand
Yeah.
Theft Auto,
Yeah.
just because that shit is hilarious playing it over
true.
again.
That's true.
It's funny that you said South Park because when I am just kind of strolling like on social media, I see a lot of their skits and
Really?
the shit is hilarious.
Yeah, every time.
And what's the character name that you said earlier?
Cartman?
Carmen is the heavier set one that's always talking
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. He's the mischievous, man. Yeah.
So, I can't think of the other kid's name that's in class, but then you know the other girl with the pink hat and the dark brown hair,
Yeah. I think Wendy. Yeah.
and she's Carmen's girlfriend for a second, right?
Oh, there's a Heidi. Yeah. She plays his girlfriend for a little
So there's another kid. I can't. What's all the main characters'
main
name?
ones. You got Cartman. Kyle's got the green hat
Yeah.
and the orange vest. Stan's got the blue hat with the little red ball. Kenny's the
one that
orange jacket.
always gets killed.
Yeah. Butters is kind of a main one. Now he got the probably Butters. There's
It
usually a
was
lot of-
Butters.
Yeah.
And Butters was talking to Kenny's girlfriend. She kept saying, bitch. He said, bitch. He said, what did I tell you? He said, bitch, I told you to get out there on that playground and make some. And Carmen looks over and says, hey, you can't call my girlfriend a bitch. He said, but yeah, that bitch will be good on the reset on the playground.
yeah, man. They're
Oh man, I was cracking this shit up, man.
their like progression from the beginning to like seasons 12 to 18 or so, like it's amazing to actually go back. Like I wouldn't even be too interested in going back and watching the old South Parks. Like they're funny, but like when you watch some of the later seasons, it's incredible how quickly they put them together and how like they always walk this, because they've always, especially as the later seasons, like they get into some political shit, but the interesting thing is that they have this way of like walking that line right in the middle where they make you think that they agree with whatever it is that you think, but then flip it right over and make you think, oh, son of a bitch, like they just walk that line and go back and forth to like
Yep.
they're not really on anybody's side. They're just
Yep.
gonna poke at everybody, you know what I mean? And then pretty much just end it, and you're gonna be like, oh damn, you know what I mean? Like we all feel like idiots. And they just got this style about them. It just absolutely kills me. Like they stay up on current events just enough. You know what
Yep.
I mean? To just like to rip it at the time and then get in and get out. Like it's only a half hour. Boom, boom. They're so clever
Oh
with it,
man,
man. They're so clever. And it's crazy to even think about two guys doing all them voices. That stuff always
shit's
kills me,
hilarious,
man.
man.
Years of doing that. Years and years and years and years and years. It's incredible. And Stan's dad, like Randy, became a big character over after
Yep.
he was always there, but like for some reason, like around halfway through the, like maybe 10 seasons ago, it's like those guys just realized how goddamn funny they could make Randy. And now he's just
Yep.
like he's basically a main character, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like he's always up to some crazy shit and they just know how damn it's like they just find pockets
Oh
to put
man.
these people in,
Yep.
and it's like it's so, and then they start to give them these little personalities, and it's just you can like identify. You're like everybody knows a Randy, you know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yep.
Everybody knows a Cartman. Everybody knows, everybody knows a Butters. Shit is hilarious, man.
Oh man. Hey, the only two shows I would say that's very similar to that I grew up watching was probably Boondocks. I thought Boondocks was
Oh
funny as shit,
yeah,
and Family Guy.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
Family Guy had it.
man, listen, Brian and what's the baby name? Stewie, and then Quagmire.
Quagmire might have been.
Oh man, that may be like the best character ever in like a show. I thought Quagmire was just like
He is
stupid and
too
funny
man.
and
He
shit
is
like
funny.
that. But no, man, shout out to South Park. That shit has been on since
Forever,
yeah,
man.
forever, man.
Kid. Since I was a
Forever,
kid.
man.
You know, I think we talked about it once. You never watched King of the Hill, really, did you?
I used to see King of the
Little
Hill.
bit. Yeah.
I thought it was trying to be Family Guy, but I like Family Guy much more
I
than
got
King of the
yeah,
Hill.
Yeah.
King of the Hill was like a cartoon of Roseanne to me. I like Roseanne's show.
Good. Yeah, yeah.
But if I was to
Listen,
not to top my name shows,
yeah.
it would not be in my top. But
Kind
I
of a
thought
background.
Roseanne and I can't remember her husband name. I thought the shit was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like the George Lopez show. I thought it was funny, but it was
Yeah.
not one of my top
Yeah,
shows. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Kind of
But
more of a background, like you
Yeah.
could have it on.
you'll be
and
okay.
just
It's
chilling.
a good substitute. This is
Yeah,
a B.
Yeah, it's a,
You know, it's a
something else.
4-star. I'm cool
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
You know.
One, I think I remember now. I forgot when you first brought it up. I couldn't think of. You made me think of a show because you were talking. What was the show you were first talking about? You say watching it older. You were laughing.
Same
at
from
it.
the sun.
Yeah, yeah. That for me has become Seinfeld.
Okay.
When I watch Seinfeld
Yep.
now, it kills me, dude. Seinfeld absolutely kills me. It kills me just because it's funny, and it kills me of how popular it was. Because I have memories of like sitting. My parents never watched it, but my grandparents did, and there would be, we talked about that before. I would be at my grandparents a couple days a week at
Oh.
least, so I'd be hanging out with them at night, and they were always watching Seinfeld. I thought it was the dumbest shit when I was a kid. It didn't seem
Yeah.
funny at all, like in the least. And now if I sit down and watch an episode of Seinfeld, I'm rolling, bro. It is so funny. And it's so funny to me how it was so popular at that time because and all the kind of like they called it was called the show about nothing, you know what I mean? And it really was like a show about nothing, but it was also just all kind of things that you could relate to. You know what I mean? There were just weird situations that everybody could relate to, acted out for 30 minutes basically, you know what I mean? And like it slays me now. Some of the situations they get themselves into and the stuff that comes up, man, it just absolutely kills me, man. Absolutely kills me. I love that show. That's what I was first thinking about.
Yes, sir.
I could run that show pretty much anytime. That one kills me, man. And it's one that you can turn on any episode too, because
Yeah.
none of them. I really like shows that are connected. South Park ended up doing that at first. South Park up until season 18 or something like that was mostly just individual topics, and it still kind of is. But after like 18 or so, season 18, they actually started to kind of tie things together to where there's like a thread that runs through the whole season. They
Okay.
would they would kind of start to experiment with that a little bit. And they did real well with it. And that's cool because then you kind of got to see each one to
Yep.
kind of pick up on that thread. But then at the same time, I love the fact that with Seinfeld, you could roll the dice. You could just roll an episode. You don't need any background. You just know what you're getting every
Yep.
single
Yep.
time. You know what I mean? And I want to finish. Have you ever seen Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Which one is that?
That's got, you'll probably know this guy if you see him. That's got
Is that a cartoon or real
no,
people?
that's a real one.
Okay.
And it's got Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's got Larry David on it. This guy.
I don't think I've ever seen that, bro.
So he actually, this guy actually basically with Jerry Seinfeld wrote Seinfeld. This was actually the
Oh
co-creator
wow.
of Seinfeld. And if you watch this show, it's called Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's on like HBO. This is basically mature Seinfeld. It's basically like it's a little bit more raunchy because it's like an HBO show. So I
Yep.
think it cuss a little bit
Yep.
more and like some of the situations are a little more. It's literally the same thing though. There's almost barely a thread that runs through. There's somewhat of a thread that runs through them,
Huh.
but Curb you could almost throw on any
Huh.
episode. And it's funny because you start when you're watching it, you almost see. I do at least. I see Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David. Like when I'm watching Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm, I'm
Huh.
like, this is Seinfeld. But really, Seinfeld might have been because of Larry David. Like
Yep.
Jerry Seinfeld might have been doing more of that, like based on Larry David's instruction, or like
Yep.
just kind of they're kind of riffing off each other or whatever. So it's really interesting. It's a very funny show. I think because it used to stream on different things, or I lost HBO or something like that. I think I got like a season or two I haven't watched, and there was a big gap. It was one of those
Huh.
where it was like a big gap between seasons or something, but that's a really good show too. That one's definitely funny. Same kind of shit where
Huh.
you're just like, oh my god, like some of the situations he gets himself into are so relatable. You just like almost cringe, like shit is hilarious.
Oh man.
That's a good one.
I remember for a minute, what was the show? Everybody Hates Chris
Yep.
was
Yep.
on for a very long time.
Yep.
I thought that shit was funny. Terry Crews, the cheap
Yep.
ass dad
Yep.
who counted
He's funny.
pennies and all of that type of shit.
He's funny, man.
And then obviously this is a skit show, but Dave Chappelle will probably have probably one of the funniest skit shows
Oh, yeah.
of all time, man.
Yeah. It was only 2 seasons, really.
So I think I may have mentioned this to you off the air a while back. They got the Rick James when he's at the bar, and Charlie Murphy walks up to him. He said, "Charlie, what does the 5 figure say to the face?"
Yeah.
But in that case, they put Will Smith's face on Rick James, and they put Chris Rock on Charlie Murphy. And then obviously you know how that plays out. So the shit is
Damn.
this the crazy shit memes and all of that
Yeah.
type of stuff, dude, man.
I love the internet for that, man.
Man. But no, man, them old shows brings back so many memories, man, of just kind of being a kid
Yeah.
when you could sit back, not do shit, and just watch TV, chill. Obviously, as an adult, things change from there. But man, yeah, all of those are some definitely classics, man,
Yeah.
and everything like that. But
Yeah.
I guess as we continue to go on with the show, man, what's leaning towards some mid-year goals? Because like I said, we pretty much wrapping up March. By the time our viewers see this, it'll be April.
Yeah.
But what will be
Yeah.
your main goal of yours kind of wrapping up?
Man, I
And-
got right now, work is keeping me busy. I pretty much my routine right now is solid. Like I'm real happy with it. Me and Chris are hitting the gym 4 days a week now.
That's what's up.
I love the consistency, man. We get up pretty much Wednesday right now is our off day. So, but every other day, I mean, during the week, I get up at 6, get there by 6:30, probably there for a couple hours. So 4 days a week, come in. I'm working from 8:30 to 5ish, usually most days.
What's up?
Spend a couple hours after that, usually doing something, personal business related. right now I'm basically, I've had this guy working with me, um, kind of full time for a few months now, and that's gone real well. He's been able to, like, basically we've got the system going where we got some other work coming in that I'm basically pawning off to him. It's enough to keep him paid to pretty
Uh,
much keep him out of any other job. So
uh,
he's replaced his income that he was working before as a cop with this job
yes, sir.
that it's not really coming out of my pocket. You know what I mean?
Got the
Takes a
business.
little
Yep.
bit of my time, but it's not really coming out of my pocket, and I'm willing to give a little bit of time just to help manage the situation because it basically keeps him fed and available. And then when I have stuff that comes up on my personal business, he's
Yes, sir.
available. You know what I mean?
Yes,
He's
sir.
not out looking for another job right now because this other thing's keeping him fed. So, like, I've got some other stuff that I've had some other projects and things that have kept us busy, and has been good because I've been able to kind of teach him stuff that I know and just take it bit by bit. Everything that's been going absolutely fantastic. But I kind of came up, I kind of was thinking about it the other day and just like, I can't necessarily I can't, like, we could keep doing this where I'm like, I spend a couple hours after work
Uh,
doing little side projects we're working on,
uh,
and we just do that all year. But as I'm
uh,
sitting there thinking about it, I'm like, this isn't necessarily going to get us both
yes, sir.
to where we want to be. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We want to keep going somewhere, and this isn't a trajectory up. It's just kind of it's flat. It's
Yep.
not down. It's not up. It's just kind of flat. So I was kind of thinking like, what can we do to make something that just going up a little bit? And so we were kind of talking about it, thinking about it, and part of that decision for me, like with my business, is I've worked with different size businesses and stuff like that. Small businesses mostly, medium, large stuff, nothing like super big corporate or anything like that. But that's part of the thing. Is like I don't necessarily know that I'd even want to, because with different size business and different, call it like pricing brackets even, and that sort of thing. It's different things that come along with that. You know what I mean? There's different things that come along. Most people, they hear, like, you think of like a government job, you can almost kind of imagine what kind of shit would come along with that. You know what I mean? If you were doing a government contract or something, I kind of see like a high end business as being the same thing. Like if you were to work a contract for somebody like McDonald's or some shit, just imagine how much paperwork and how much like liability and just all the stuff that would go into that.
Agreed.
And I'm not even necessarily so sure that I'd be into something like that. You know what
Yes,
I
sir.
mean? Some people, that'd be like landing the big thing, they're landing a big paycheck and a big deal or whatever. But for me, that's not necessarily the goal. The goal is to have something a little more long term sustainable,
Yep.
not just shooting for the stars and hoping to land the big, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then I'm just not so sure about, if I'd even want to do that. So, kind of thinking about all that, thinking about my experiences over the years and everything so far, like, I really enjoy working with businesses and working with people who are just starting out. I mean, that's kind of where we were at to some
Yes,
degree.
sir.
You weren't necessarily just starting out, but you were at that perfect point to where I was like, I see where you're going. Let's pivot it just a little bit this way, do this,
Yep.
and this. And like, it was just perfect timing. And like, that's been a great experience. We just being able to grow together has been a great experience. And I just find more value in doing that with other people that are running small businesses. But the problem is, a lot of times with small businesses, people don't necessarily have the budgets, the larger
Yep.
to medium, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And so there's this like dichotomy of trying to figure out, well, how do we, basically just make it efficient to a point where like we can put these sites out, or we can do these things that happen quick enough for us that still are super quality, because I think that's why people want to work with me in the first place,
Yes,
because they
sir.
know things are going to be buttoned up and
Yep.
T's are going to be crossed and I's are going to be dotted. But like, how can I, balance that with the fact that a lot of small businesses don't necessarily have the money that it might take to do that if they were to have it done
Yes,
professionally?
sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Because really, for the kind of stuff that we do, we could and maybe should to some degree be in that medium to medium high end business range. Like that's the kind of
Yep.
product that we can put out.
Yep.
But I just don't know that I like that experience as much, right?
Yes, sir.
So kind of thinking about that, the idea kind of just came to me like, um, basically, if we can kind of refine that process and minimize the amount of, because there's always the back and forth that
Yep.
is an issue a lot of times with like, there's, if you don't set expectations right, and if you don't necessarily have a lot of preparation together in the first place, then this whole like website process can take weeks. And it's
uh,
like those two things can't exist. It can't take weeks and also cost little to nothing. Like you just there's got something's got to give, right? So like we started thinking, how can we really kind of just minimize the amount of time in to where we can still have something quality, but we're not doing this whole back and forth thing. And
uh,
so we're kind of right now trying to figure out like how do we do that? And I think the answer is something like um, just having a process kind of upfront, just kind of like how you have a process for estimates, right? The fact that I always tell people about that when people are thinking about like why do they need a website or something, like I'll give you one key reason is like if you want to run your business a certain way, you can use that as a tool. And that's pretty much what we do with that estimate form. You don't get an estimate or you don't get an inspection with Chandler Inspections if you don't fill out that form. Like that's a non-negotiable thing, and that's for a reason
uh,
because it allows us to have the process that we have and provide the product that we provide. And if somebody tries to step around that or we make exceptions, it only affects everyone else
uh,
because we start having to spend extra
uh,
time or like it's like no, that's just it. You want an inspection through Chandler Inspections. We just there's gonna be a transaction
uh,
involved, of course. We're gonna ask for some money,
uh,
but non-negotiable step number one is you
uh,
gotta fill out that form. And I kind of think that's almost the direction that we need to take. Is like there's gonna be certain businesses out there, people, small businesses are always in that honeymoon phase where they're excited, they want to get things started, they
uh,
want to kick stuff off, and a lot of them come to that point where they're like, I need a website. And they're right, a lot of them do need a website, but a lot of them don't realize how much work goes into a website. You know what I mean? We're experiencing this right
uh,
now. Granted, we got uh, a system in the back end and all sorts of things, but I mean, you can see how these things can get pretty
uh,
complex pretty quick. So people kind of have an idea, but they don't necessarily, put it this way, like everybody's kind of serious until they realize how much maybe they need to provide, right? As a business owner or
uh,
something. A lot of times when you have like a website built through an expensive company, or a lot of times they use like the term agency, they do the work of sitting down and figuring out what you do, what you provide, and all that stuff. Because maybe you're a business owner and you don't have time to lay all that out or whatever. But if you're going to do that, you're going to pay like an agency for their time to sit down and do that. That's not necessarily our position though if
uh,
we're working with small businesses, but you still got to have that stuff because if we're going to make you a quality website, we got to know what business are you in? What does that mean? What are your services like? What are your prices? How does that translate to like give me descriptions on these things, like all that sort of kind of trying to fish for all
uh,
that information and stuff. And so I think that the answer for us is going to be something like having a process up front that says, look, we will do this for you. You see this product over here, like we can make this for you, but before we get to that point, here's a couple things you got to understand, and here's a couple things you got to do. And,
uh,
like we can't have this back and forth. So, what's going to happen is you're going to provide us with all the information we need, and we're going to give you a form to do that,
uh,
basically. And then from there, we're going to go through and kind of distill it and put it together. And kind of to some degree, what you get is what you get. You know what I
uh,
mean? Because that's an issue that I kind of have is like sometimes people treat it like I think people don't necessarily realize that every click, like everything that we do, every spot that we place something is intentional. It's for a reason.
uh,
It's not just like arbitrary. Like there's a reason the logo is the size that it is,
uh,
or that this is spaced the way that it is, or this like every single thing has a reason to it. And so a lot of times it just gets to this point where we finish and people are like, "Oh, this is great, but can we do this, 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 and this?" And like there's a little give and take with that.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? For the most part, the answer is no. Like because it's also kind of a weird, like it's a reflection on the business too. Because like, what if we put something together that we see as high quality, like this is it right here, and then somebody kind of goes through and has their input that doesn't do this for a living, and then ruins that. Like,
yeah,
now, do I want to use that as a portfolio piece to show other people? Not
uh,
really.
yeah,
Not anymore. So and that's just kind of the give and take. Like, and if we're getting paid $100,000 to do it,
uh,
you're the boss. You know what I'm saying? That's where
uh,
it's kind of just a different relationship sometimes, I think. You know what I mean?
agree.
But like with small businesses who need a leg up, who maybe need some help to, maybe they would rather spend that thousand or two that they otherwise would on a website somewhere else where they can invest in something else to start up their business. And then instead of charging people up front, if we can refine this process to where it maybe only takes us a week to put out a high end, high quality site, and then just have a reasonable like monthly retainer on that to where people can have if you need us to update it, or you have something that you need us to do every month, that's built into that. The hosting's built into that. The maintenance is built into that. That's all built into that. You're not paying anything for it up front, or maybe it's a small deposit or something like that, just to have some skin in the game or whatever. But to me, like that's been the thing that I've learned is like the skin in the game for most business owners is to actually just provide us with the information that we need. If somebody actually is able to provide that information, they've done the work, and it's like, oh, you're serious. I can tell that you're serious. You want this laid out, because like 9 out of 10 people don't. That's where they kind of fall off. Where it's like, okay, because I think that even small business owners expect they're gonna go, here's some cash, you figure it out, and it's like, I need a lot more than that.
I
This
know
is a
that's
full
right.
time job you just handed me
Yeah.
to figure out what you do, how you do it, all that. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't work that way. You got to provide me that. You know what I mean? And now we definitely had some changes with like this AI stuff. This has changed the game for us because that's I don't need people to give stuff to me in a format that could end up on the website. I just need the bullet points. I just need you to tell me, what are your services? What do you do? Like what are things that you need people to know about your business? Give it to me in a bulleted list. I can work with that.
Yeah.
'Cause I just talk to my little chat
Yeah.
friend and get that all figured out. That's no problem. But I got to know where to start. You know what I mean? So that's what we're all that long tangent to say. That's kind of like where I'm at with my own business, is like trying to figure that process out, because if we can have that sort of a system to where we can capture the people we like, small business owners just starting out, looking for a leg up, serious about what they're doing
Yeah.
though. Here's the process. It's like we're doing each other a favor.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted to
Yeah.
think that you're doing us a favor.
Yeah.
We're just as much
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
favor in putting this product
Yeah.
together at a super low cost, and just we'll run it for you.
Yeah.
That's kind of the agreement, and in doing that, trying to build some sort of base just for the business. You
Yes,
know what
sir.
I mean? So that there's money coming into the business, so that something, forbid something should happen with this other situation where my guy that's working for me is, I'm able to just forbid something should
Yeah.
happen to that. I've got a base as a business now to where it's not my personal money necessarily. I could tap into it if I need,
Yeah.
but I can keep that separate and have a base of, business income where it's all good. We don't need to have
Yeah.
a panic. I don't need to lose a guy. He doesn't need to worry about going out and
Yeah.
working at McDonald's next week or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, everything will be cool, and just kind of try to keep building that to where, I mean, do that for 2 or 3 years, and who
See how
knows?
many
Who knows?
businesses? Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll be in a good place, and
Yeah.
then just kind of take it from there. So that's kind of like that's what we're working on pretty heavy right now. So I mean, by the middle of the year, I would hope to have like one big part of that is redesigning my own website, which is
Yes, sir.
funny because I'm the website guy, but mine's a couple pages.
That's
you
usually
know,
how it goes,
just haven't
man.
needed it, man. I just haven't needed it. God bless everybody who's send me those referrals and everything. You big one of them. Few other people, you know who you are. I've been super super blessed to have people
Yes, sir.
send me referrals, and that's been for years. But now it's just like to actually build that base of business and have it be something that kind of takes off beyond just replacing my income or whatever, because I
Yeah.
don't even necessarily need that anymore.
Yeah.
I got to have some sort of plan. I got to
Yeah.
do something to do, and I want to enjoy it. I don't want to, like, because when I sat and thought about working with bigger companies or trying to land bigger, I'm like, I don't have the energy for that's not
Yes,
where
sir.
my energy is. You
Yes,
know what
sir.
I mean? I'm not gratified out of that. I'm gratified by building good websites, but I'm also gratified by building good websites for people who appreciate them and
Yes, sir.
need them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's other people out there who can deal with the big mumbo jumbo corporate contracts and all that, and they'll do a good job. That's just not my lane, man. That's not for me. That's kind of like, don't you feel like it would almost be weird if all the houses you did were 5 million and up? That'd be different, right? Like it'd be obviously more money, But you be dealing with a different class of people, and weird
Yeah.
things would come up where you're like, do I even want this? Like,
Yeah.
I might just want to go back to the city houses, like, because there's just different bullshit that you deal with at a different price level. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a
I
weird thing.
I would say, well, obviously I deal with weird shit in some raggedy
Yeah,
ass
that's
houses, I
true. That's
expect,
true.
right?
It's still some different weird shit.
So I mean, in that aspect, would I want to go up to 5? No, but I will be okay with maybe 800,000 to $1 million
And the
houses.
market's changed a lot too. $1 million
Uh,
house right now,
is
shit,
in reality,
600 5 years ago.
you know.
But
Um,
yeah, yeah,
but I think everything that you really described, bro, was how we really aligned together.
yeah,
You
yeah. That's
know,
true. Yeah, yeah.
that I needed what you needed, what you were great at,
Right,
and
right.
you needed what I was great at. And to be honest, bro, I didn't even know I was great at this shit.
Yeah, you know what it has been,
You
man.
know,
It's just that it is. I don't know. It's strange for me. Like I'm not. I think the biggest thing was that you just are passionate about your business, man. You're just not a bullshitter, dude. Like a lot of people are just, and I don't mean any disrespect.
Yes, sir.
I'm being like, I'm being funny,
Yeah.
but to some degree, like people just kind of bullshit. Like they got a lot of it's. Anybody can come up with a good idea, and anybody can feel motivated to do something before they realize how much work goes into it. You know what I mean? And like I could tell very early on, like you about your business. You know what I mean? Like it means something to you, and you
Uh,
can just kind of tell some people. Like it's not that it doesn't mean anything to them, but it doesn't. It's not everything to them. You know
yeah,
what I mean? They're not 100%. Maybe they don't even need it. Like it needs them, sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
to where I think we were both kind of on that same path too, to where like we had regular gigs, regular jobs, like
yeah.
whatever you want to call it, and like we just kind of realized like this isn't there's no version of me that exists where this is the rest of my life.
No,
Working for
not by a
somebody else
chance.
and doing whatever, maybe in spurts or in different but just like this is not it. You know what I mean? So like, so we were kind of on that pathway, but that's a big thing for me. I think is just like, and I don't even know why that is, but just it's just more than a paycheck. You know what I mean? Like it's more than a paycheck. I would much rather do 10 jobs for $1,000 and enjoy it than do one job for $10,000 and be fucking miserable.
Agreed.
And I've been in situations like that before where it's like, damn, man. Sometimes you just need some perspective, but
I
like,
should have said no on this one.
yeah, yeah, this was not worth it, which is just crazy. It's crazy, especially when you usually from a. It always seems to happen when you're in a position to where you could use that the most. You know what I
Uh,
mean? And maybe that's a lesson to take from that. Is like, maybe you just shouldn't when you're in those positions. You're like, maybe I'm a little bit blinded by the fact that I feel like I need this right now, and that's why I'm doing it. And I'm not really scouting out
no,
if it's a good idea. You know what I
no,
mean? That sort
agreed.
of thing. And maybe those kind of situations like present themselves at those times for a reason. Almost like a test or
Yes,
something
sir.
like that.
No,
It is strange how that seems to work, and then you get in that position. You're like, God damn it! I can tell early on. I messed up. I messed up.
those are the fun lessons in life, bro.
Man.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but no, man. I honestly, I mean, for myself, my main goal, honestly, like I said, I know I got this meeting tomorrow with this guy. Hopefully that goes well. I
Yeah.
need to find somebody consistently, whether if it's somebody that only do my out of town inspections, somebody that I need. And don't get me wrong, I still have a large amount of time on my hands. I had way more damn time on my hands than I used to. But
Yeah.
how can I even cut back now? Because like I said, obviously with the baby coming, I'm going to need to even be more flexible with the time that I have now. So the reports, that's one way, right? That's
Yeah.
going to make the job
Ooh,
110% easier.
yeah, it is.
Um, but like I said, bringing somebody else on and everything like that. So that's the hopes for everything.
It's gonna be a big couple months, man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, big,
Baby on the
yeah,
way.
yeah. Hope house searching.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like I said, I was, talking to you, John, about. I got a feeling that it will, but only God knows, man. And like
Yeah.
I said, I have to be aware it doesn't happen when I want it. It happens when I need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I would prefer to be when a bit before the baby gets here. But if it's after, I'm gonna take the blessing. I ain't gonna complain about it,
Yeah.
bro. But
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of my main, I mean, that's really my main goal, bro. Really being able to bring somebody else on, fill my shoes in the moments I can't be there,
Yeah.
to where I can take a week or two off when the baby comes. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Without losing any money and everything like that. So putting the business in that predicament now, um, I believe everything I do is intentional. So I think this meeting happening when it's happening
Yeah.
and the way it's happening, I think is all answering everything that I need. I'm just waiting for it all to fill in together, you know what I'm saying, and allow it to blossom. So that's pretty much my main goal, bro. But I'm even learning to leave a lot of my goals in the God hands, because if you don't end up achieving that goal, you end up feeling pressure or worry, and you be like, nah, I gotta allow him to guide me on this and continue to go, even if it ain't the way I want it or see it
Yeah.
or even feel it, but you gotta still believe in it and everything like that. So that's my goal, bro. And everything like that. But it's gonna be 1 month closer by the time we shoot the next episode. By
Yeah.
that time, so in 2 more episodes, I'll have a baby at home. You know what I'm saying? Pretty
Yeah.
pretty much in two to three episodes. So
Shower coming up. About a
shower
month
coming
from
up.
now. A little less. Huh?
Looking
Yeah.
forward to that, man. We just met. Blessed that. So Trisha is the mother of my my brother on my dad's side.
Yeah.
So she's blessing us with that place, taking care of us in
Nice.
regards to that. So yeah, looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to get all of that over with, seeing where we're gonna put all of these gifts and all of those type of things
Yeah.
to do some redecorating. Forbid that we are still in the space now, until we get a bigger place and everything like that. So, but yeah, man, we're gonna continue to win. We're gonna continue to be blessed. We're gonna continue to be intentional. And if any of our viewers, like I said, you need any form of inspiration. Hopefully, those type of things stick with you as you continue to grind and go through your ups and downs, as we do. So,
Amen. Amen.
but yeah, man, that's under the rug.
It's a wrap.
Episode 2, season 2.
So, sorry we're a little late. Hope you enjoyed the upgrade.
Sorry for the wait, man.
Shout out to Rob.